guys, I'm Linda.
And I'm Vicky.
And we are Partners in Crime. So today we were going to discuss Suzanne Morphew. And Vicky's going to tell you what we found out about that.
Well, we know that Barry had given an interview to Lauren Sharp from Fox 21 News. And he is still searching for Suzanne and declined an in-person interview and didn't want a recording of the call to be aired. And in a 30-minute conversation, he brought up the possibility of an animal attack, like a mountain lion dragging her away, or a stranger abduction, or someone that knows her well.
Could have taken her.
By someone that knows her well.
Right.
He stated that he's been in love with his wife since 1988, and that she is the love of his life, and he continues to search every day until he finds her.
And I don't think we would dispute that. There's no reason for us not to think that he actually feels that way.
Unless he did it.
Well, that could be, but he could have something else happen. Doesn't mean that he doesn't still love her.
Correct.
You won't kill someone if you love them in normal minds, but,
right,
you know,
right.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned to Lauren that he has a deep faith and said, we don't know why God does what he does, but they have to trust him. And he said he's been silent for so long because of all the finger pointing and the presumption that he did it.
Can we just discuss that a little bit? There's finger pointing anyway. Right. I don't understand, regardless of if you talk or you don't talk, you're gonna be, because you are the closest to her, the last one that saw her, it's just understandable that they are going to point the finger at you, the public. Not necessarily saying that the police are, because we don't know that. But it leads, most of the time when these things happen, it is the spouse or the closest to them that kills them.
Well, I gotta say, his silence is deafening. And I believe his silence makes him appear...
Speaks volumes, I would say.
Right, it makes him appear more guilty. Because he's just not showing an interest, I think, by being so silent.
And he could be searching on his own. We don't know that. We're not around him 24/7. We don't know what he's doing, so we want to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that. But like we said in the other videos, they went to the house twice. They got 2
search warrants?
Yes. So they went to the house, they had 2 search warrants. That is very hard to do unless they had some really good evidence, so.
Exactly. And, you know, I can't help but think about how he refused a lie detector test twice.
Well, he explains that in the call to Lauren.
Oh, does he? Okay.
He does, because the family was the one, Suzanne's family was the one that said that this happened. And Barry does talk about that to Lauren.
All right.
Yeah.
He did approach a manager at a local market, and he wanted to write down a description of what she was wearing the day that she went missing. A baby blue bike helmet, biking clothing, but he didn't give a description of Suzanne herself, like her height and weight, her hair, or her eye color.
Which, that's what you give. You give them everything you can. And this is all he wanted them to post in the store.
He also said to Lauren that it's been 3 months and he's devastated. He's in a lot of pain and his heart is breaking for the loss of his wife. And I don't know, I'm just so skeptical of Barry.
Yeah,
I can't help it.
Any other way.
Lauren had one brief conversation over the phone, and Barry had her call back.
Yeah, so initially he did want to talk to her, but apparently the call was brief, very brief, and then he asked her to give him a call back.
I'm afraid of what is out there. People don't know the truth, so they're going to think what they're going to think.
Can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I don't, so what has that got to do with getting off the phone and having her call back?
Yeah.
And here is the polygraph information. He says he's never been asked to do a polygraph. There's nothing that he's hiding. I have given 330 hours of testimony to the FBI and CBI.
3 times, yeah.
330 hours of
That's
testimony.
what he said, but I'll just...
He's answered every question.
3 times he did a 30-hour interview,
right,
okay?
Right.
Yeah.
And, private investigator Don Cristantino, who's had over 25 years and was a former Pueblo County Sheriff, said, even if someone is asked to submit to a polygraph, it could be reasonable for that person to refuse based on legal advice.
Yeah.
And that's probably very true. You know, an attorney might say,
don't even try.
Keep quiet. Don't give them any fuel.
And it's not admissible in court either, so.
No. And really, I think it's for another tool for law enforcement to act on. But
I think it gets in their head too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's why they use it too. They figure.
And it's public perception.
Yeah.
And let's see what he says. Barry explained an inconsistency with one timeline, which he told investigators. It was only because when I just didn't know the time that I did something, a mechanical thing to my Bobcat, I was confused and I just found out my wife was missing.
I don't understand that. He didn't really explain what he was talking about or what.
Yeah, so apparently there was some conflict in what he had said when he was working on his Bobcat.
Right.
And got
he
mixed
told
up.
the investigators, which that's, I don't read too much into that kind of thing. Why he brought it up kind of sets up a red flag, because it could be that the investigator's like, oh yeah, people get dates wrong. But then he has to explain himself, so.
And I want to read exactly what he said here. You know, it says that he was concerned with Chaffee County's handling of the investigation, particularly the day Suzanne's bike was found.
Which we don't know that that's the case.
My buddy was there right after that, and he said that they completely destroyed the evidence, and he tried to stop them, but then they wouldn't listen to him and said, this is not CSI. There's no evidence for the investigators to see because the sheriff's department completely obliterated it.
So that is setting up a narrative that they messed up when they found the bike. They didn't do what they were supposed to do, so anything that they could have found wasn't found. So how can they say that? I think he's just setting up the narrative at this point that the bike has nothing to do with anything, and that's why they're not putting it out there, because they messed it up.
I think what they might have messed up is the crime scene.
Well, that's what he says.
That's what he says.
That's what his friend said.
Right.
If there's no bike to mess up a crime scene on, then if there's no crime scene because there's no bike, that makes sense, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, I don't know. He's just trying to, yes, I'm speculating, but I feel like he's trying to set up a narrative, just like going to the store and saying this is what she was wearing. Nobody even knows if she rode a bike. This is what he has said from day one. Nobody knows that for sure, right?
Correct. And he's adding that their mistakes are why they're questioning him. He says, and this is Barry's words, the sheriff department screwed this up from the beginning, and now they are trying to cover it up and blame it on me. But on the other hand, he says he gave three-hour
interviews, yeah.
And why would they try to blame it on him if he gave all the information that...
Have you heard anybody blame it on him from the police department?
No.
Or the investigators?
Well, not that we know of, but I guess the fact that they're interviewing him and doing the search warrants and...
But that's what they do. That's just in the course of an investigation. They're not doing anything differently with him that they would do with any other missing person. So...
Correct. And I also think they know that statistically, when these crimes happen, the spouse is usually the one.
Yeah.
And we know that from other cases. And so do they.
Yep.
So that's why they're looking at him first. And, he may he should look at it that they're trying to clear him instead of blaming it on him.
Right. But
and apparently they can't clear him.
When you're guilty, you can't.
Exactly.
So, again, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying this is the way it works out. So, we think he might be, but, there's just no other... We haven't seen anything else to think otherwise. That's the problem.
No.
Yeah.
No. And he talks about his faith and his trust in God, and says that Suzanne trusted the Lord. And if one person got saved from this, she would think it was worth it. And we are just a godly, loving, caring family, and this thing is just a tragedy. And I agree with you, Barry.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. First off, he hasn't talked about the girls other than telling them he would look for her every day. Okay.
Correct.
But he doesn't say this is hard on my girls. There really isn't any he hasn't talked to Lauren about his daughters, or at least from what she put online or on the newscast. He doesn't really talk about the girls other than saying he's going to look for their mom. I mean, this is devastating more for them than for him. I'm sorry, this is their mother. So I think him not stating anything about the girls is hard to understand. And then saying that Suzanne would say if it saved one person, I don't get that. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Is he trying to say something in there?
He's trying, yeah.
I mean, she would understand.
It would be worth it.
It would be worth it. I just don't get it. I don't understand what he's talking about. Let's just look at this again. This is the most devastating thing that has ever happened to me, but I've got to keep my faith and trust in God. And Suzanne trusted the Lord, and if one person got saved from this, she would think it was worth it.
Better her than somebody else. Maybe that's what he's...
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's what he's saying that she was implying.
Okay, that if she could, instead of maybe one of their daughters getting, okay, got it, okay.
Right.
All right, I just didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, I think that's a little wacky, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not reasonable to even think that she would think that way. And, maybe that's something he's trying to do to console his daughters.
Yeah.
By saying that, but his daughters have got to be...
Those poor girls.
And I wonder if they're not trusting their father at this point.
It could be. We haven't heard anything from them.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. The kids... we talk about the family not talking. Yeah, Suzanne's family just started talking. The daughters, I think they should be shielded from any of this. I don't think they should have to say anything about anything. I'm sure they have to the police, but it could be devastating if, let's say, something was said and they feel this certain way about their father. To have to lose your mom and then know that your father might have done something to her is a lot to take. So that's understandable that the girls just don't.
Right. And they're following his lead, I guess.
That could be too.
Yeah. He's got an attorney, I'm sure, who's telling him what to say and what to do.
Yeah.
And probably with the girls as well.
Yeah. And I did see another video from Lauren Sharf, and she did talk to one of Suzanne's friends, and she just said they went through cancer treatments together recently, and she was saying she was just a good person and just not someone, she liked everyone. Everyone liked her. She was just an easy person to be around. So that makes it harder for, I think, people to accept that someone that is that good. I mean, you don't want anything to happen to anybody, but if somebody's not a good person, it's not as hard to, it is hard, don't get me wrong, but it's just, when someone's that awesome, it's even harder to deal with, because they didn't do anything to have any enemies or anything that, they didn't do anything to anybody to
bring it on.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And most people don't, but you just,
Yeah, it's just...
So... Yeah, that's where we're at with Suzanne.
Yeah, we don't really have anything other information yet.
Yep.
I keep hoping that there is.
And we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Something comes up. Okay.
All right.
All right. So for now, bye.
Bye-bye.